So let's take a look at this video or this picture here and see if we can make a guess at what's taking place. So look at it. What do you think's happening here, or what happened here? So when we look at the picture, we have to look for some clues to see what's happened here. And so if we look around the picture, we see several things. So we see two trucks. We see that there's evidence that it looks like they hit each other because there's parts laying here, a wheel. We see somebody on the phone. We see a dog. We see two people over here standing beside there. We see that there looks like there's a cut on his head. This person has their finger in their mouth. They don't have a smile on their face. We see other things. We see a stop sign here. So we're gathering all sorts of information from the picture, trying to figure out what took place. And when we put all that information together, we can get a pretty good idea of what took place. So some of you might have come up to the idea that there was a crash that was there, possibly that the truck didn't stop at the stop sign and he ran into the other vehicle. You might have inferred that these two people are really worried. Some of you saw the dog, and so that maybe you thought the dog ran across the street, and that's what caused this crash to happen. There's all sorts of different scenarios that we could come up with what took place. But regardless, there are some facts. These two vehicles are no longer in great shape. They have damage on them. And when we start talking about inferences and observations, we look at the facts and then we look at what we think took place. So I'd like you to copy this down in your notes. So your notes are going to be on a piece of notebook paper. They're going to be something that you keep with you in your binder. We are going to refer back to these frequently, so make sure you put them in a safe place. So observations, what are they? Observations are what we can see using our senses to detect. They are facts. Everyone's going to agree with them. So they are using your five senses. What you can see, what you can hear, what you can taste, what you can touch and smell. Now in science, we are not going to taste ever this year unless I specifically tell you that we can, because there are chemicals that we use in science class that are not safe for you. These containers that we use, you don't know what was in them last time, so we are not going to taste anything unless I specifically tell you that we can do that. What we can use are other senses. So observations are things that we can use our senses to detect, and all scientists are going to agree on these. Inferences, on the other hand, are using the information from our senses to predict or explain why they took place. So they are not always going to be agreed upon by everyone. So we're going to do some examples of these. Just pause the video for a moment until you have these copied down in your notes. All right, so let's see if we can go and practice with this. So here's a statement: the grass is wet. We need to make some observations. What are facts about this? So we would use our senses, we'd reach down and we'd feel the grass. Our hand got moist. Okay, so that's an observation. We can look at the grass and we can see little droplets of water. Those are all observations. All of us are going to agree with it. If we took all of us outside and we looked at the grass, we would be able to see that. Now, inferences try to explain why that might happen. And we probably could come up with a long list of why the grass would be wet. It rained last night. The sprinklers were on. Your dog was out there prior to us going out there. Oh, hopefully that wasn't the case. But it could be. All of us have experiences. We've touched grass. That's where we come up with these inferences from. So let's try another one. There's a boy sitting in the office. So observations. We use our senses. What are facts? You look at the boy, you could go and come up with a fact. He's got a frown on his face. He's smiling. He's got a band instrument sitting on his lap. Or there is a band instrument beside him. The secretary is talking to him. The secretary is handing him a package. There's all sorts of observations we could get. Now we could come up with inferences where we try to explain why this is taking place. So maybe the student forgot their instrument at home and somebody brought it to them, and that's why they had to go to the office. Maybe it was they got in trouble, and that's why they had to go to the office. Maybe there's a smile on their face. They're going out for lunch with their parents for their birthday. All of those could be inferences. Just seeing the boy sitting in the office, we don't know exactly why that person is there. But we could try to explain it using experiences that we've seen. Those are inferences. The observations all of us are going to agree on. The boy sitting there has a frown on his face, or there's an instrument sitting there. But why exactly it's taking place, those are inferences unless we were to ask. All right. So, observations using your senses. What is actually two facts about this picture? Just pause the video and write those down. What do you think? Some facts about this. All right. So hopefully you put down something like this. There's a baseball. There's a window. There's glass. There's writing on the baseball. All of those would be observations. Those are facts that we know. The inferences are what most of you probably jumped to right away. The ball broke the window. That's an inference. You're trying to explain what took place. And we don't know if that's true or not. And scientists have this problem too. Sometimes they want to jump to conclusions when we really don't know what took place. All we have are the observations. What do we see? And then they have to infer and try making conclusions on what those pieces of evidence are trying to tell us. So, yeah, a ball could have come through the window. Somebody was playing baseball outside. We could have had somebody walking through the house and they saw the ball on the floor and they set it up on the window. And the glass was already broken. We don't know. We're inferring what took place. If a ball went through the window as somebody hit it or threw it, it probably wasn't going to land right there. It'd probably be inside the room a little more. So we have to be careful with those inferences. All right, here's another one. So look at the picture, and then on your paper write two observations, and I want you to write two inferences. Remember, observations are using your senses, your five senses. What do you hear, see, smell, taste, or touch? Now, obviously, with a picture, we can't use all of our senses, but two observations, and then I want you to write two inferences. You can pause the movie for just a moment while you write those. All right, so if we look at the picture, we can make some observations. There's a dog right here. There's a pillow, it appears right here. We have some artwork. There's white stuff on the floor. There's a window. All of those are observations. There's facts. Now your inferences. There could be all sorts of inferences. The window could have been left open and snow flew in. That's what the white stuff on the floor is. Another inference could be your kids had, or your brother or sister had cotton candy and they made a mess on the floor with it. That could be an inference. One that most of you probably jumped to the conclusion of was That dog went in the room and ripped apart the pillow, and that's what made the mess on the floor. That would be another inference. Remember, inferences are trying to explain what happened here. Now, here's the actual story. So my daughters came into the room. They were having a pillow fight, and one of the pillows ripped open, and fluffing went all over the place and landed on the ground. And in came our poor dog and got captured in the picture. Is that a true story? No, it's not. My wife's allergic to dogs, so could be at my sister's house. They have a dog that likes to do mischievous things like that, but not at our house. But it would have been a reasonable inference. Now, there are biases that can affect our understanding of things too, and my video is not going to work here, so we're going to skip over this slide. Scientists make inferences all the time. They look at the evidence, they try to make a reasonable inference of what took place, but they get things wrong frequently. And it's not until we find more evidence, more observations, that proves that they were either right or wrong. And so as we go through this here, we're going to continue to look at what scientists are finding, and then we're going to let you infer. What does that mean? Do you agree with what scientists are inferring or not? So next week we are going to be doing some labs that work on inferences and observations.